Good morning. Thanks for joining me again. We are back on video 2 of chapter 2 of the book, Tenacity, The Art of Hanging On While Letting Go. You can pick that up on Amazon or you can email me. This week we are talking about unpredictables. Now, this week we are also celebrating the 4th of July, and my family and I will be sitting around the barbecue and eating homemade ice cream, and we'll be thanking God for our nation, but we will also be praying because we need to push that victory through to the end. I really believe that God still has a mandate and a call on our country. All right, so we celebrate the birth of a nation that was founded on biblical principles despite what the revisionists and the embittered souls will try and tell us. In fact, our very government is founded and it's organized based upon the principles that are found in Isaiah 33:22. For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, and the Lord is our king. You have judicial, you have legislative, and you have executive branch, all right there. So again, back to the unpredictables. All right, I'm going to tell you another movie clip. I know, Denise and your movies, but I really love stories. And I really love stories where it just looks impossible, but you see an underdog overcome it, because that's kind of how a lot of us feel. So my movie example this week is from Rocky 3, and you have Rocky facing a formidable nemesis named Clubber Lang. And just before the fight, a journalist asks Clubber Lang, "What is your prediction for the fight?" And Clubber Lang looks right in the camera and he says, "Pain." Did you like how I did that? It was way more intimidating when, Mr. T does it. But that was his prediction. I'm going to beat this thing, right? Now, if somebody had asked King George, "What is your prediction for the American Revolution?" he'd have probably said the same thing. In fact, King George addressed Parliament just before he sent the British Army over to take care of those foolish Americans, right? And he made this statement: "When the unhappy and deluded multitude against whom this force, the British Army, will be directed, shall become sensible of their error, I shall be ready to receive the misled with tenderness and mercy, and in order to prevent the inconveniences which may arise from the great distance of their situation, and to remove as soon as possible the calamities which they will suffer, I will give authority to certain persons upon the spot to grant general or particular pardons and indemnities." What a guy. All right. See, very few predicted that the colonies would succeed in their quest for independence. The British Army had 100 years of conquering all kinds of nations and colonies around the world. They had larger forces. They had very well-trained soldiers, better trained soldiers than we were, and they had more weapons. Okay. But America had a calling. America had a mandate. When John Winthrop organized the New England Federation, there was a covenant that was created, and a portion of that covenant stated that this colony is created to preserve and propagate the truth and liberties of the gospel. They had an assignment. Those soldiers had an assignment to preserve and to gain liberty from tyranny, and they had tenacity. They had to keep going. So when those farmers, small business owners, and pastors, yes, pastors were the driving force of the militia that became a part of the army that fought in the American Revolution, when they all stepped into their assignment and decided that they were doing this because more than self, their country loved, and they loved mercy more than life, then God intervened on our behalf. And I say our behalf, because we are the fruit of their obedience, their conviction, their tenacity, and their willingness, and again, another phrase from America the Beautiful, to carry the patriot dream that sees beyond the years. We have to look beyond ourselves. This is a bigger picture than just you and me. This is our generations. Okay, this is people around the world who don't yet know. And we need you to step into that assignment. During their struggles and their unpredictables that came with the war, as comes with every war, God intervened for them on countless times. And he preserved certain individuals. George Washington tells a story about how being in the Battle of Monongahela in the French and Indian War, he stepped out of that war with 4 bullet holes in his jacket, and 2 horses shot out from under him, but he walked out unscathed. And then I'll let you look up the kind of miracles that happened at the Battle of Brooklyn. But it is incredible. We're talking diminished winds. The British forces can't get their reinforcements in because their ships won't sail in. Okay, there's no wind for the sails to pick up. And then there's a heavy fog that settles so that the British army cannot see the American army, who is escaping at this point. So they live to fight another day. So, Psalm 33, 16, 17 says this: a king is not saved by a mighty army, and a warrior is not delivered by great strength. A horse is a false hope for victory, nor does it deliver anyone by its great strength. But the eye of the Lord is upon those who fear him. You want victory in your battle? Well, one of the keys is to have a fear of the Lord, because God promises us victory. He says he always causes us to triumph. And that is a word you can stand on. So you know what? Despite how big your enemy looks, despite how formidable the nemesis seems to be, my prediction for the fight for your enemy is pain, right? Because you and I, we're tenacious, and we're going to keep standing, and we're going to believe that God's going to give us the victory. So remember this as you celebrate tomorrow. I hope that you have a wonderful day. I hope that you remember, what is your calling? What is your assignment? And remember to be tenacious. And the Bible says that you don't do this alone. All right. I'm going to come back on Saturday with a little longer post, and we're going to be talking about a series of unpredictable events that seems to end with you and I finishing the story. All right, I will see you on Saturday. Have a great day and happy 4th of July.